Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week, I predicted that number 1 would be Creed 3, number 2 would be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, number 3 would be Cocaine Bear, number 4 would be Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, and number 5 would be Jesus Revolution. And I got 4 out of 5 of my predictions right. I think last week also, if I'm remembering correctly, I was also just one shy of getting them all right, except this time it wasn't, oh, I guess the wrong thing in the wrong spot. It was mostly like, oh yeah, it's another case where another movie came out of nowhere that I didn't even know was really coming and just totally disrupted my predictions. And yes, it's another anime, so we'll get to that in just a second. Number 1 was Creed 3, by the way, a franchise best opening for both Creed and the Rocky movies. Literally, this movie has opened with a higher opening weekend than any of those, making $58 million this weekend. Not only is it the biggest opening for this franchise, it's also the biggest opening for a sports movie, but also it is also the biggest opening for a black director in their directorial debut. So not like, Ryan Coogler doing Black Panther after he's done Fruitvale Station and Creed. It's debut. This is obviously Michael B. Jordan's, first feature film that he is directing. So that is pretty amazing. And obviously it's not like, is it a little bit of a bummer that it's not like an original film that's making this wave? It has to be another thing that's part of a franchise that's, going to make money anyways. Kind of, it doesn't really matter that much to me. Obviously, it just speaks to the way our audience members are right now, the way we are as a culture, is that we mostly just prioritize big name franchises. But that being said, this is still a pretty big achievement, nonetheless. I honestly didn't really know how well this was going to do. I knew it was going to do well, and it was definitely going to take out Ant-Man and the Wasp, considering how that movie is dropping, and we'll get to that in a second, obviously, but, it actually did better than what the estimates were saying. The early estimates were like, maybe 40, kind of more so late 30s, and then it ends up, almost damn near 60 million. In fact, when the official numbers come out, it might even be there, and this is on a budget of $75 million. The budgets for these Creed movies have just slightly gotten bigger, with each installment, and, the fact that it's still paying off, that's really great. Worldwide, it is sitting at $100 million, so it really needs $50 million more, and they've already doubled that budget. As far as the other films in this franchise right now, it has already outgrossed domestically Rocky V by $18 million, and it needs $12 million until it outgrosses Rocky Balboa. Worldwide, it still, has a bit of a ways to go until it gets to Rocky V. It needs $19 million, but, the fact that this is the highest opening weekend for any of these movies, that's a good sign for sure. And obviously in these next couple weeks, just this whole month really is going to be really busy as far as film releases go. So it will be interesting to see how well this holds over next weekend, because we got another, highly anticipated movie with a devoted fan base, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it holds over. But, I'm just really happy that it had this big splash. Obviously, this is already a really great success for this. And I'm glad Jonathan Majors had this as a rebound after our number 2, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, worldwide, it is now sitting at $419 million. So the budget that is listed is $200 million. So if you are going by our traditional standards of, well, just double that budget to account for marketing and post-production, stuff like that, and it's a success. So $19 million over its doubling point, not bad. But usually, especially when it comes to these big movies, there's other things, other costs that they have pushed out that they may not be privy to sharing with everybody. So, really the safe bet when it comes to these bigger movies is, does it cross $500 million? And the fact that we are in its 3rd weekend of release, this was promoted as the next big thing, for the MCU, not just the kickoff for Phase 5. It's the, foreshadowing of what's to come. Kang, he's going to be this big guy. Kang Dynasty, he's the focus of the next Avengers movie. He's the next big bad. He's going to be taking over Loki. Fantastic Four may or may not be tied to him. All this stuff, all this promise, and it hasn't even gotten to $500 million worldwide. And I know it's part of a franchise, a series of films in the MCU, Ant-Man, that, they've made money and they've done pretty well for the budgets they've had, but they aren't, they don't compete with the, the bigger titles. So I'm sure there might be some people who are like, well, it's obviously unfair to put these big high expectations on, another Ant-Man movie. But it's like, Ant-Man and the Wasp still did better than Ant-Man, you know, and if we're going by what we're seeing right now with Creed 3, where it's shaping up to be more successful than the last two, where Creed 2 was also, you know, even more successful than the first Creed, you know, this should have like a steady evolution of like, hey, look at what they're doing. And that is obviously not the case here. We've talked about how the reviews have been divisive. You know, audience score on Cinema Score, you know, isn't that great. You know, it's a B, but like for Cinema Score, that's not great, especially for other MCU movies. They very rarely go that low. So yeah, this is still shaping up to be a pretty big disappointment. I am wondering, because I'm sure Guardians 3 is going to do fine, because that's so separate, you know, even though they do cross over in Infinity War and Endgame. Those characters and that side of the MCU just feel so distinct and separate. I think James Gunn and company are fine, but you know, the Marvels is really the next MCU movie that is, you know, going to have ties to what's going on Earth, what's going to be going on with the overarching storylines with these characters that will, you know, most definitely be showing up later, because, you know, that's the thing about Guardians 2 is that it really is being promoted as a finale. Nobody knows who's going to die in it. That's the thing that's being promoted, is that, hey, maybe one or two characters are going to go down, you know, who really knows? It's the end of this team. So that's treated as a finale, and, you know, it's so separate, you know, that's probably going to do fine. Everyone loves the Guardians, really. The Marvels is the next one that's kind of like, you know, you're coming off of Captain Marvel, which had so much divisiveness backing that up, and then here's another one, and you have all these reports of, you know, the working conditions for the VFX artists, how you have the, you know, growing trend of these MCU movies not being received all that well, that slow decline from like, it's fine, to it's I don't know, is it fun? I don't really know. Oh, you know what? I never told you guys how much this movie made this weekend. I'm sorry. It had another drop of like 60%, making 12 million, adding to a domestic total of 186 million. So I gave you the worldwide total, 419, domestically 186. Domestically, it still hasn't crossed over what its initial production budget is, you know, on top of the fact that worldwide, you know, it's not carrying the slack. You know, that's really saying something. I mean, domestically, this movie has outgrossed the first Ant-Man by 6 million. You got that. It's outgrossed Captain America 1 by 10 million. It's outgrossed Thor, the first one, by 5 million, and Black Widow by 3 million. But worldwide, it is still 99 million behind the first Ant-Man movie. That's really where it should be way closer. You know what I mean? Considering that this was the highest opening weekend for any of the other Ant-Man movies, the fact that it dropped this big, amazing to me. Anyways, speaking of other MCU films that this is outgrossing, it did outgross Captain America 1 by 49 million worldwide, Black Widow by 40 million, 18 million over Eternals, and now it's behind Shang-Chi by 13 million, and domestically it's behind Thor 2 by 20 million. So yeah, it's outgrossing all of the lower grossing ones, whether it's because this was early days MCU or, you know, pandemic related reasons. That's Black Widow and Shang-Chi for you right there. But this, like I've been saying, the way they've been trying to hype this movie up, the way that this cinematic universe, you know, seemingly is kind of going, this probably should, you know, be doing a lot better. I genuinely do wonder if there's like emergency meetings going on where Feige and company are like, okay guys, maybe we really do need to reevaluate the next couple years. Maybe this is too much. Maybe we are pumping this shit out. Maybe we are letting things slip through. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. Anyways, number 3, we have Cocaine Bear making 11 million, adding to a domestic total of $41 million. Domestically, for Elizabeth Banks, it's still behind Pitch Perfect 2 by 143 million, but you know, that's unrealistic to reach at this point. It's still doing fine worldwide. It is sitting at $52 million, half 100 million, not bad. It is still 21 million behind Charlie's Angels, though. There, I think, you know, by next weekend, maybe we'll see, you know, it surpass that. Maybe it will take another weekend, but it's going to outgross Charlie's Angels at least. So there's that. And this is a better movie than Elizabeth Banks' prior film. So I think that's really all that matters at this point. It is still 18 million away from doubling that $35 million budget. And as far as like how it held over, like it debuted pretty strong, and you know, this isn't too far off from, you know, what it opened with, but I think there might have been some people who saw, looking at like the daily box office charts, how like on some days Cocaine Bear actually made just a smidgen more than Ant-Man. And I think maybe some people are like, it's going to have a really great hold. And then you see it here like, well, it's still, it's up there with Ant-Man. It's really close, but it's still like a million behind. It's not like 12.6 and then 12.5 for Cocaine Bear. It's like, it's not holding as close to that, and it didn't have the kind of staying power to knock Ant-Man, permanently, below it. Who knows? Maybe next weekend, Cocaine Bear will be having more staying power where Ant-Man will just plummet a couple stops and Cocaine Bear will do fine. But right now, maybe some people were expecting that to happen sooner rather than later. It's still doing okay though. Like I said, it still needs that 18 million altogether to double that $35 million budget. I think, similar to how we'll be seeing it outgrows Charlie's Angels by next weekend at the least the weekend after. That's the rough time here. It's doing okay. Number 4, Demon Slayer to the Swordsmith's Village, making $10 million worldwide. That adds to a total of $22 million. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is, like I usually don't for most of these, because you just can't find them. I go on Wikipedia, I go on the numbers, I go on Box Office Mojo, and I can't find what the budgets are for like most of like the limited release anime releases. So that's per usual, as is it disrupting my box office predictions. So, whatever. That's all I really have to say. I've never seen anything Demon Slayer related. I know nothing about it, but I'm happy that it did well enough to take out what is at number 5, which is Jesus Revolution. But, it's not like that's causing this to flop though, so who cares? But still, it made $8 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $30 million. So it still doesn't have a worldwide total. It maybe won't, just judging by the kind of movie it is. But still, even without that, it has already doubled its minimal $15 million budget. So it's like literally, it's at the exact doubling point. So this movie is doing, similar to Cocaine Bear, is doing fine. In fact, it's actually technically doing better since a smaller budget, and they have just now doubled it in its second weekend, whereas Cocaine Bear may need a third and at the very least fourth to do that. So and it's also doing better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's the other funny part about this. I have nothing else to add. Let's move on to number 6, which is Avatar: The Way of Water. Still doing better than literally any movie in existence right now, making $3.5 million, adding to a domestic total of $670 million. Still behind the first Avatar by $115 million. Still behind Top Gun Maverick by $48 million for the 2022 domestic runs list. And it is still behind Titanic by just $4 million. So at least next weekend, and at the very least the weekend after, we will definitely be seeing it outgross Titanic and take its number 8 spot for highest domestic runs of all time. Not just 2022, not just for James Cameron, just of all time. And that's super special. Worldwide, it is sitting at $2.281 billion. That's still behind the first Avatar by $642 million. But it is also behind Avengers Endgame by $513 million for all-time worldwide box office runs. We're kind of at the point now where it's like, other than the Titanic number 8 spot on the domestic list, it's, it's now out of the top 5. It's looking like it's not going to outgrow some of these other things. We're kind of in the same situation of like, Top Gun Maverick, when we were talking about that for a bit. Even though for this series I didn't cover it when it was released because I brought the show back, like a couple weekends after it came out, but still, it was just kind of like we kept talking about how it was doing so well, how successful it was, and after a while, there's just nothing more to add. It's kind of boring to just be like, oh yeah, here's another, fucking couple million to add to this. It's not outgrossing some of these other higher achievers, but it's still great that I'm just spouting out the same canned responses, like, it's still great it made it this far, even if it didn't go all the way. So let's move on to number 7, which is slightly more interesting. Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre. This is a movie that was supposed to come out last year, but was delayed because of timing. The original release was coming out right when the Russia-Ukraine stuff was happening. And and maybe I'm wrong about this story, but this is the one that I was seeing that was, specifically explaining why this movie was delayed by like a whole year, was because there's some Ukrainian henchmen in it, and they thought, this isn't a good look right now. Let's push it to a year and then see where we're at. Either way, even if it came out last year, I don't think it would, do any better. You know what I mean? It made $3.1 million worldwide, though. I think just because Guy Ritchie, Jason Statham, Hugh Grant, British icons, there's some other totals coming in. It is sitting at $23 million worldwide. So, maybe, I don't know. You know what? Actually, no, because worldwide, this still isn't even big enough, because The Gentleman didn't do great domestically. It did pretty solidly when it came out in 2020, but the worldwide numbers were ultimately what pushed it over. And even though it wasn't like the biggest box office smash of that year, well, I guess, yeah, it kind of was, because 2020. My bad. At the time, it didn't seem like the biggest box office smash. But, because the budget was as minimal as it was like, okay, well, it was a pretty modest hit. And this is another Guy Ritchie vehicle where it's just not, it's looking like it's not going to have that same kind of success, because worldwide, it's not like they're over the 50 million initial point already. And I don't think this is going to be like A Man Called Otto, where it's going to have great staying power and just barely squeak by its doubling point. I think this movie, I don't see it, sticking around here domestically all that much. I think this movie's just dead on arrival, which is kind of a bummer, because I saw it and was, pretty entertained by, like, it's a solid movie, nothing mind-blowing. It's not going to rock your socks and change your worldview or the way you view films in general. It's just a, fun little movie that has some issues for sure, but was fine, and maybe we could see more with these characters and see them improve, do new things. But, we won't, if they ever did want to do that, we probably won't be seeing that happen. Although, I think this will be like an Amazon exclusive in, like, some parts of the world. I think actually maybe it is the UK, so maybe this money isn't even coming from the UK. Wherever that is happening, so maybe Amazon was able to cover up, some of the costs of the production, so maybe they're doing okay. Maybe they'll make more. Maybe it'll be a big smash on the Amazon servers over there, and they're like, well, we can't put this in theaters, but, streaming exclusive, why not? You win, Jason Statham? Is this something you want to do? So, I don't know. As far as Guy Ritchie's other films, it's outgrossing his, lowest grossing ones, obviously. It outgrossed Revolver and Swept Away by $3 million, and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels by a couple 100,000 domestically. It still needs $2 million until it outgrosses Rock'n'Rolla, which it will get. Worldwide, it is 23 million over Swept Away, 16 million over Revolver, and 4 million behind Rock'n'Rolla, which it will get. Either way, even if it was like a modest hit, it will never top Aladdin in Guy Ritchie's filmography. So, what's the point of even trying at that point? Let's move on to number 8, which is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, making $2 million, adding to a domestic total of $177 million. It has outgrossed the first Boss Baby movie by $2 million and a couple 100,000 over How to Train Your Dragon 2 and Home, and now needs $3 million until it outgrosses Madagascar: Escape to Africa. Worldwide, it is sitting at $453 million, $38 million behind Shrek, inching closer and closer every day. And as far as the first Puss in Boots movie goes, it is $101 million behind the first one. It is just so close to being in the double digits instead of the triple one. At least domestically, it outgrossed the first movie, but, I want to, for a movie that is definitely better than the first Puss in Boots, I wanted this to go all the way, and obviously, it's had great staying power, and that's great. I couldn't ask for anything more. I just really would have loved to have seen more people being dragged to this thing, and I definitely don't like that it basically ended up on VOD really quickly too. Not that, because obviously it didn't seem like it hurt the movie all that much, but it just makes me wonder, what if they didn't have that option at all? What if they did do what Top Gun Maverick and Avatar is doing, where they're just holding off on the VOD streaming and physical releases for the entire 4-month kind of period, or even slightly more that we usually got with these movies and physical releases. It's still doing fine. Moving on to number 9, which is Magic Mike's Last Dance, making $1 million, adding to a domestic total of $25 million, still $41 million behind Magic Mike 2, and worldwide it is sitting at $52 million, which is $71 million behind Magic Mike 2. Jesus. It's still just $38 million behind the doubling point of its $45 million budget, so it inches so, just ever so close, and then it's just not doing well, though. Oh, well. Who knows? I mean, yeah, if you look at the other two Magic Mike movies, the budgets aren't huge like this one, because this 45 compared to what the other two movies cost, this is way bigger. And if you look at, how much it made, if it did have, a relatively similar small budget that those other two Magic Mikes had, it probably would have been considered a modest hit. But they went really big for some reason. And finally, closing out the video, number 10, this movie and Knock at the Cabin have been neck and neck as far as which one's above the other, and finally both of them are out But this one is staying just a little bit longer. 80 for Brady. Beat out Knock at the Cabin at number 10, making $845,000, adding to a domestic total of $38 million. It may not have doubled that $28 million budget. It's still behind it by $18 million. But still, it beat M. Night Shyamalan. Thanks, Tom Brady. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, I'm going with Scream 6. Number 2, Creed 3. Number 3, 65. Number 4, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And number 5, Cocaine Bear. I don't think Champions is going to do all that well, unfortunately. Unless it's bad, then fortunately. Anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And if you got your predictions right for this week, you're going to get a shout out right now. Unless you didn't get it right, then I am sorry. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.